Hey there, everyone. Good to see you all again. We're just coming in right now because we got some toe flow channel coming through. Nobody's around, so you can see I'm the camera guy right now. Alright, well, right now we're getting into a high form of toe practice. Right now, you're not going to be able to see too much in the video, so it does make me think to myself, or see that, maybe this doesn't make a lot of sense to be videotaping, because it seems as if no progress is being made here currently. But you see, there's a thing that I wish to talk about. I was trying to draw it, in some kind of a way. Maybe there is a way for me to do that, this little etch stick thing they got on here. Later in an edit, I don't know that I'll do that or not. It just depends on if it makes sense that it's going to be a benefit. We'll see if the motivation comes, the skillful means, the compassion necessary to drive in that manner. And also then the wisdom would have had to come in alignment to make that possible. So if the wisdom, meaning the information, comes into alignment where it makes sense for the male form to move with skillful means towards the goal that the wisdom has defined, then awesome. Usually it's just, seeking awareness, feeling the present surroundings, all the energies available, making an evaluation, and then the skillful means can be applied. And if there's nowhere for the energy to be routed, then it makes sense that no compassion has been given or skillful means to move in any common direction. And so, thus, I would say that the thing is hopeless. And if you find yourself unable to route yourself in a manner in which you wish to go in some way, it could be simply that you don't have the wisdom given to you yet to make it make sense. And if you're going in all kinds of random directions, trying to make something happen, but not really having the wisdom as to how, and you're wondering why nothing is occurring in the way in which you somehow are believing it should, that would be you having the wisdom, or having plenty of compassion, but no wisdom. And so you're going to need a marriage of the wisdom and compassion to complete activities in ways that you see to be efficient. And anybody who's completing any activity, whether it was by their own hand or by the help of another hand, they will find that it was because of the marriage of wisdom and compassion. In fact, if any experience has happened, it's because of the marriage of wisdom and compassion, because of the complete bond of the male and the female, that there has been an equal giving and receiving, that you cannot give without receiving, because motion cannot happen with only one of the products. There has to be somewhere for the giving to go, somewhere for movement to have happened, and so something has to receive it, and it must be an equal receiving. Now, how that is seen to be equal by us as people identifying as egos can vary, but in the whole of consciousness as one being, it can be easy to see how that equality is occurring on every level. Okay, and so I was thinking about talking about the toe channel, how it's opening. You did see some motion. Right now, there's a tension right down in here. There's a way to grab this positioning that was not previously available in subtlety to be able to be felt. But as I extend fully outwards as far as I can and get comfortable with that holding of extension, I now have where I was previously able to extend to and where I was now able to extend to there. And so in between these two spaces is now a motion availability that was not there presently. And so actually, because I'm hard already here and hard already here, I can actually move in between those two spaces quite easily. And so as I move further and further in differing directions, I open up from this stable positioning that is the resting posture, movements this way and in between, movements this way and in between, movements this way and in between, movements this way, movements this way, movements this way, movements this way. All kinds of different movement possibilities, which creates a much easier relaxed focus, meaning I don't have to use as much pressure or strength or seeming muscle to move in a certain direction. Now I have a relaxation to the fluidity of in between here and here, this in between space, quite easy to go around in. Now finding like a rigid structure is going to be more difficult. So if I want to go nice and slowly into these places, I can find stopping points in the in-between from this space to this place, and that will make it to where I now have a strength here, and a strength here, and a strength here, and I still have the fluidity possibility between the strength positions, but I'm starting to gain more sturdy balance in the way in which I'm creating myself neuropassagely and directionally with my system in a way of fluidity and also in a way of solidity or great skeletal structuring, wonderful founded quality. Instead of just all flimsy like a flame, I also have the earth and the ground. I have the ability to move sound like water or fluid like air, whatever it is, light and airy or strong and powerful, but still grounded and amazing, but also with that nice ability for explosive energy, like the flame has. I actually don't have any fire in my main signs in my chart, so I'm extremely non-aggressive actually, but I do have the capacity to light up like a flame out of nowhere. But for me, I don't know if I call it a flame. I can feel it, yes, but it's everything to me can be seen to be the breath. But I can find the solidity in the tree and the grounded nature of my being as I tune into different frequencies. As I touch the earth, I feel the strength come in me. As I breathe the wind, I feel the fluidity of its airy nature. As I go to the ocean, I feel the power and strength of all of its amazing, smooth, fluid motion, its ability to become strong and hard and also to bond with everything in such an amazing, powerful, and more dense nature than that of the air, but very similar in its qualities. And also the flame, very similar to them all. The one that's quite interesting to the rest of them is Earth, how it moves very different than the rest of them, but also extremely similarly, as it moves with the same wave patterns, but in much slower fashions. And so it's really amazing to see how they all bond and how they're all wavelengths, frequencies, energies, vibrations. They're all differing in bandwidth due to their speed and their precision, what it is that it means about the way energies oscillate on them differently than other things, but still equally, so not in a way of judgment saying that this could be without that or something. We're all here balancing on one another. Without this to be contrasting that, we wouldn't be able to experience it. We're very happy with the entirety of our experience in a certain sense, and once judgment leaves us, we can see the perfection of the way it's here in the most amazing harmony and balance, and how we can settle the sea of our own consciousness and allow ourselves to see this. And this is what I'm talking about, the settling in a certain sense through full extensioning. So I fully extended, and now I have motion available beyond that extension between the original point and then the point furthest outward. Now much motion is opened between it. I was thinking about making a drawing that would really help understand this kind of subtlety that's now available. So every time I fully extend myself in a direction, I now open up a subtlety in between. It's the same thing with my consciousness. As I've grounded into my root, I've been able to balance upon my crown, and now every chakra center in between is easy to navigate. Before I was able to balance on my root and my crown, it was much more difficult, but luckily for me, I did find a root foundation in the heart. So anytime that I would have trouble in any one of the other chakra centers expressions, I would just simply retreat back to that place of safety, that place of refuge, that place of equanimity, the place of unconditional love for all beings everywhere without one exception, the heart. Everything is still always this in a certain realm and degree, and in a way equally pervading all beings continuously, always and always. And there's ways to be able to see this more frequently as we continue down the line of our journey, and there are not ways that we could exactly force, but ways that we can become aware of how consciousness unfolds and blooms itself in every way possibly. And so as we begin to bounce back and forth between the walls of our consciousness, we'll see the settling that's naturally occurring. We may wish to identify with a doership, but in some way we'll at this point for sure be aware to us that there's no possibility of us actually doing. And that was the thing that is allowing this bouncing back and forth perception to show the dialogue, the narration, the articulation, the contemplation of what it is that is happening here with not only your own personal being, but with every single being. And so everything is coming into this form of settling. And as we settle our consciousness and stop creating greater reverberations through the creation of new karma due to emergency anxiety and agitation, due to beliefs of ignorant lacks of understanding, the beliefs of duality, and the beliefs that things are less than what they actually are, which they are perfect in every way, possibly always. And upon coming to this realization, again, the sands will settle, and we will be able to not only have our sands settled, but through our settled sands reverberate or radiate, actually, a frequency that to other beings is also settling. So people will come upon you and find deep peace in their own reality, and you can simply be yourself and bring into yourself your actual authentic awareness of what it is that's occurring, and that will be the most natural, effortless wisdom of the moment, and it will not have to be forced from you. If you don't wish to speak, then you don't speak. If you do wish, then you do. And it's really wonderful finding that we are naturally perfect in every way, and to come into settling with our expression, to see that, oh, the only reason that expression ever appeared in volatility was because I tried to control it. I had resistance, and then I created a fight and a battle that was unable for me to be controlled in the long run, and that will bring a dissatisfaction that will allow me to release that program eventually, maybe in this life or many lives past. It all depends. Eventually, we strive for what is efficient action, and actually that is always what brings us the most satisfaction. That is what brings us personally, each one of us, the most joy, and we will find that very easily when we come into the place of our heart, into the place of pure awareness, into a place where we find what is true love for all of ourself and all of self, which is our true self. And the only way to love ourselves in that way then would be to know ourselves. That way we are able, instead of loving an illusory finite thing that is not truly reflective of who we are actually, and enabling and empowering that imagery, we can find out who we are really, who we are truly, who we are actually naturally, most authentically, most effortlessly, and we can come into the great ease and peace that our being, as it is always, and all beings entirely, is perfect, just as it is, no matter how it is. And once all control is released, we'll see how easy it is to settle everything within ourselves, and how obvious it is that that settles everything around us that we could ever possibly come into contact with. What an amazing, easy blessing it is to be medicine. Once you see that, well, everything doesn't need it. That everything is, in fact, its own medicine. That everything is here, healing itself for the benefit of itself, and that so are you too also. So, that's amazing, wonderful, a little nice toe flow channel, make me feel like I'm doing something positive with my life in some way, and also it came about spontaneously. The motivation for this came up so drastically that to do anything else would have been a greater force than to do this, and so that is why this is happening, and the same reason why I would speak or well do anything. And we'll all find the amazing wisdom that comes forth through the knowledge of these phenomenal teachings being transmitted through myself and through the entirety of consciousness and our entire conscious journey. As you're not in necessity of me, or I of you in a certain sense, and yet here we are in symbiosis and synchronicity and simultaneous similitude in a way of great benefit for one another that couldn't be without each other. But if there is any time that we are not in the way that we may perceive ourselves to be, there is a way that we are always here eternally and singularly, and so there is no need then to distinguish which one of us is for who in which way, as we are all here equally as one being. And that is the truth of us, and we actually need not enable any thought that there be another reality, even though we do have understanding that people do have beliefs of other realities. If we do come into the truth of what is, we have no need to enable those beliefs by acting as if they are significantly true in any way, but we can acknowledge them in our compassion and understanding for how we are aware that they are here and they are perfect, and that we not need to be in any fight or necessity of emergency or anxiety to change anything from the way in which it is formed here now, as it will change and it will grow, and it is doing everything completely, perfectly, limitlessly, exactly as it needs to be already, without our need to implement our own control and arrogance into it. And that as we unfold, so does it, and we can allow ourselves, as we allow all of it, the space to do so as well. And as we do allow ourselves, we'll see that it is the easy transmittance of that energy to others, that when we don't transmit the same energy that we give to ourselves to others, that we find a great dissonance in that with our own field of awareness and resonance, and so we then immediately will transmit that data through our observation and our confessing of it, and be like, oh shoot, yeah, I don't know why I would do that to you. I wouldn't have done that to me. please continue on doing all the things in which I would wish for myself to be allowed to do. Much love to you, my friend. Excuse me. Thank you for bringing that to my awareness. Anyhow, so this toe flow has really been developing quite amazingly, and so I decided I'd bring us in a little bit on it. Right now, you're not noticing any significant difference in the flow than what you've seen previous. Other people, though, have been watching me for many days, many hours, for the entire duration of the day in this meditation, in this practice, watching this flow. And this flow has been transmitting to all of the other areas of my flow in life, to my breath channel, to the light language channel, to the motion of my hands and my body. Just the other night, I had a phenomenal flow where I was able to implement the same teachings coming to me in this meditation of toe flow in the other flow. Now that's amazing. Now this happens constantly. The way that it did the other day was so significant and large that it'd be so obvious the benefit of this, and even people could come up and be like, well, Ryan's lazy, he doesn't do a lot. The entire day I am opening up a greater level of subtlety that will allow me to grab even more deeply these things and move them as these hands. And as we continue to watch the different channels that come through, you're going to see how very quickly my balance and fluidity, my power, my agility, my everything, my ability to surrender then to effortlessness and limitless motion is upgrading so far that it's just absolutely insane. And that's because I have the ability to do a one point of focus. So I do this for the entire day. You know, it's very difficult for me to not be doing something that is benefiting my progression in life, my liberation, the blooming of my lotus, or any of these things. And when we find this one point of focus, again, you'll find just the easiest compassion given you to move in that way. So we find true love for ourselves through purpose in our life. It's very easy to move in that manner. There are people that say there is no purpose, and for me, perhaps you can find that nice ease and transference. I find it maybe a laziness in the articulation of this journey and the way in which it's saying that there is no purpose. I found my purpose. I found what was meant for me to do and what I wish to do most. Now, maybe it is be free without the realms of a purpose of doership in the way of slavery and service to beings. But still, this purpose to me, if I were to lose this, if I were to walk away from this practice, if I were to stop gaining this momentum in a certain way, it would seem to me to be a lessening experience in a certain sense. Of course, I must make sure that I do not gain preference or fixation, or else I will need to be broken from this. So it is an amazing, relaxing, and wonderful releasing of the need or necessity or the having to of doing anything. So if that is the realm or purpose of them saying that there is no purpose in this sense, to relieve people from the anxiety and emergency energy that is ridding the reality of any possibility of joy and freedom, then I understand. But in another way, there's a great purpose, there's a great understanding, there's a great reason as to why we are doing this for ourselves, and there's a wonderful honoring beauty to all of these energies. So I have to imagine there's a lot of lack of awareness and realization being transferred to the laziness of that particular teaching, and so that person perhaps has found themselves in a place of great peace and ease and free from many of their stories, but in other ways, I mean, I don't see how they've gone so very deep as to understand in such great lengths and manners the true articulation of consciousness, to where being a teacher makes complete sense. As how do they not understand the great purpose of all beings to be here for one another, and how we can come into alignment with that purpose very greatly through perhaps the releasement of a certain style definition and distinguishing of what is a focus of purpose in the way of grasping and attachment, which creates a fixation, polarity, a preference, and favoritism that won't allow a versatility to a being for a very long length and duration. And so the constant holding on to form, which then has to put up to the law of impermanence, which then creates a reverberation or a fight mentality within that being that has gained that preference or that attachment to that ego identity that is themselves, and gives them their personal safety and security and their unique style perception of their journey. And still, there are ways to articulate this in a manner that can bring into logical sense what it is that's being relayed in the transference of this information. And so I see a laziness when things aren't explained in this style of fullness, and then I have to imagine that the only reason for this is because the awareness is not present within the being transferring the awareness, and that leads me to always believe that the awareness is being transferred then from conceptual knowledge and not from full realization or realization from direct experience in a way of fullness. So thank you very much. I can't wait to bring you into a deeper flow with this Toad channel, but it's wonderful to take a nice little advanced summary and view. I would show you my face and the rest of me, but I am on a naked beach, and I am naked here. We've been able to camp here for over a week now. It's been very sweet, very wonderful, very beautiful, very gorgeous. So yeah, thank you very much for everything. Love you all. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Aloha.